Terrorism is an idea, it's not an army. You can only win a war against terrorism if you win the hearts and minds of people from with whom the terrorists are operating from. This is, throughout history, this has been the case, that if the people from whom the terrorists are operating from, if they consider them terrorists, you're winning the war. If they consider them freedom fighters, you cannot win the war, because there will be no end to it. It will go on and on. Otherwise, Israel, with its firepower, should have now been able to win the war against the Palestinians. It's not. It hasn't. India has 700,000 troops in Kashmir. The moment one small thing happened, you saw hundreds of thousands of people coming out asking for freedom. Army is not an answer to solving the issue of terrorism. So we don't even know how many Pakistani civilians have died so far. We know that last winter, just out of Waziristan, there were 150,000 refugees. Out of Bajaur, last month, there were 500,000 refugees. So imagine what the army is doing to its own people. In this war on terror, they are using F-16s and helicopter gunships. And as we all know, bombs do not differentiate between terrorists and women and children. And we also know that the militants are much too clever to be caught in some place where a drone can come and bomb them. Normally, they always get away. Who die are innocent people. So what is happening? There's a backlash. When Pakistan Army went then in Waziristan in February 2004, for about a year, nothing happened. And when the Pakistan Army, in serving their paymasters, because they were getting $70 million a month a salary, when they went chasing 800 to 1,200 Al-qaeda, this is the total number of Al-qaeda, by the way, and this is how ridiculous the whole thing is. To chase those people when the army went in, it ended, when it started causing collateral damage, the backlash came. And by 2007, there were so many Pakistani soldiers dying that the army was forced to hold dialogue, a peace dialogue, start a peace initiative. And understandably, the army had no motivation in fighting these people. They did not see any reason in fighting the people, so you had soldiers surrendering in droves. 250 soldiers surrendered to 10 Taliban. They had no will to fight. So when the army in the end was forced to hold dialogue, and at the same time there was a blowback, 65 suicide bomb attacks in Pakistan last year. All the political parties that are in power now, ANP and Frontier, both the main parties, including our very versatile Maulana Fazal Rehman, all of them campaigned that they would resolve this tribal area issue through dialogue, all of them. And what we have seen is that, again, the moment the Americans got their one window operation with Asif Zardari before they had Musharraf, they again pushed him to send the army in. And what we are facing now in Pakistan is not only a huge economic meltdown, the worst economic crisis in our history, especially borne by the poor people. Inflation is at 25%. The rupee has gone from 66 to almost 80 to a dollar. Fiscal deficit, trade deficit, all increasing. Food inflation, 35%. So imagine what is happening to the common man. On top of this war on terror, with this blowback in Pakistan, if we have anything like last year's suicide attacks in the main cities, we could actually have a run on the rupee, because already there's flight of capital. And when Asif Zardari, with a smile, wants to attract capital into Pakistan, bring in foreign investment, how can foreign investment come in a country where no cricket team is willing to come and play? So if this continues, unless there is a change of strategy, Pakistan is going to go the way of Cambodia during the Vietnam War. Cambodia was exactly accused just like Pakistan is being accused for insurgents coming in. And the Americans ended up bombing Cambodia, destabilized it. And in the end, you had the vacuum, Pol Pot, and the killing fields. 1 million Cambodians died. We could be the biggest casualty in this whole thing. If you look at the newspaper in Pakistan, any newspaper, first of all, you have to take a discipline before you read the newspaper. And then it starts from Balochistan all the way to Waziristan, Kurram agency, into Khyber agency, then Bajaur, then into Swat. Every day soldiers, Pakistani soldiers and citizens are dying all along this belt. And what it is doing is, it is radicalizing the Pakistani society. It is not the same as we keep hearing, religious extremists. This is not religious extremism. It's radicalization. People whose children are dying in this war of terror, not war on terror. How are they not going to be radicalized? I brought the president of Tehreek Insaf from Bajaur. I brought him on Capital Talk because it's the most watched program. And there I made him tell the story of what happened to him and his family. They were going in 2 jeeps. Pakistani helicopter comes over the top. They are given instructions that whenever the Pakistani helicopter comes in the agency, they all have to get out of stop their cars, get out, put their hands up. So that's what they did. The helicopter came back and shelled them. His 6-year-old boy lost both his legs. His brother died, brother's son died. I saw 5 of the children in hospital. You know, when you read the 20 dead and 70 injured, those 70 who are injured, a lot of them you would want them to die because they are minus legs, minus arms. Because, you know, when you shell people, it's the worst way of doing it because it leaves the injured in no state to look after themselves. And the state doesn't look after them. There's no one to look after them. So I brought him on television to tell the story of what happened to him. And then I asked him, that how are you going to respond to that? He said, where will I go? Have I got a court of law to go which will redress this injustice done to me? Or will I go to the Taliban to go and pick up a gun and fight the army? And that's what's happening. That's why this movement is growing. That's why this war is not winnable. It's a disaster both for the Americans, a bigger disaster for Pakistan. And all this in the name of pragmatism. This is being done. You have ruling elite in Pakistan sitting in these drawing rooms every day saying, but what else could we do? Otherwise the Americans will do it. So because the Americans might do it, we might as well kill our own people ourselves. And given the situation now, the economic situation, they do not have the capacity to go into the tribal area. That's why they are pushing the Pakistani army. And that's why, unfortunately, we should be resisting, and we are not. People in Pakistan should be out in streets demanding that this is nonsense what's going on. Unless and until the American forces, the NATO troops withdraw from Afghanistan, I can give you my prediction right now, there is absolutely no chance of peace. And the reason is very simple. Right down from Alexander to the Mongolians, to the Mughals, to the British, to the Russians, they have fought every conqueror, all these were superpowers of their time. Everyone was resisted by the Pashtuns. The Pashtun tribes have fought each other, but whenever an invader has come, they've all got together. And what you're seeing now is no longer Taliban or Al-qaeda. This is now Pashtun nationalism, what is being seen. And there is not going to be any end to it. So to conclude, this war on terror, unless and until there is a change of strategy, this is a disaster for Pakistan and it is a disaster for the US. This is what they need to understand, because all the neighbors of Afghanistan are very happy that the US is stuck in Afghanistan. They want US to be stuck there. They are beneficiaries of this. But Pakistan is what is going to be the casualty like Cambodia was during the Vietnam War. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.